Morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you all and open the inaugural meeting of the Cumbria Combined Authority Board today, Wednesday, the 18th of March, 10:30 here at Red Hills in Penrith. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Gail Roach. I'm the Democratic Services Officer to support the meeting this morning, and I'll leave the rest of the introductions to the newly appointed chair. Before we get started, I'd just like to remind everybody in the room that the meeting is being broadcast live and recorded for future viewing. That takes us to agenda item 1. So this is to confirm the membership of the Combined Authority Board. We need to confirm the appointment of the following members nominated by their constituent authorities. So for Cumberland Council, we have Councillor Mark Fryer with a nominated substitute, Councillor Emma Williamson, and Councillor Lisa Hinton with Councillor Denise Rollo as substitute. For Westmoreland and Furness Council, we have Councillor Jonathan Brooke and a nominated substitute, Councillor Patricia Bell, and Councillor Andrew Jarvis with Councillor Helen Chaffee as substitute. Can those be agreed, please? Thank you. So that takes us to agenda item 2, which is the election of the chair of the board for the ensuing year. So can I take nominations? Thank you.
Probably hear me anyway, but thank you. I'd like to nominate Councillor Mark Fryer.
Is that seconded?
Yeah, I'm happy to second that. Yeah.
Are there any further nominations? No, thank you. Would you like to say something, Councillor Hinton?
Yes, I would just like to say it's an honour to I had this privilege at the beginning of Cumberland Council Unitary Authority nominating Mark for leader of the council, sorry, not chair of the council, and I didn't know him very well then, but now sort of 3 or 4 years later, we've worked really closely together. I think this is a unique opportunity that is driven with the same passion and commitment that I've seen throughout Cumberland Council, especially when it comes to putting health and wellbeing at the heart of everything we do, and really listening to residents' voices, and everything that he has done has been with that in heart. So it is an honour to be able to nominate him again.
Thank you. So we have one nomination on the floor for Councillor Mark Fryer. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you. I'll hand over to you now, Chair.
Yeah, thanks for those kind words. I wasn't sure, Jonathan. So, but look, absolutely. Good morning to everybody. Welcome to the inaugural meeting of the board of Cumbria, the Cumbria Combined Authority, to be in May next year, to move towards the mayoral authority, and it's an unbelievable honour to be selected as the chairman or the chair of this board. As we start a new journey for Cumbria, we're on the cusp of, I think, if we work together in collaboration and partnership, as I spoke at a speech on Friday night, then we can do some pretty special things for our communities across the whole of Cumbria, and we have worked together to get here. It's an important milestone for our region, bringing together our expertise, our collective expertise, the ambition, that local insight that we have, and we have that genuine opportunity to shape a stronger, fairer, and more prosperous future for the people and communities we serve. From our young people who were born and just about to set up on the journey, and hopefully people like me who are on the end of that journey will be able to see the fruition of that, of high quality education, top quality jobs, and going to further education and come back into our communities and exercising their ambition for their own sort of community. The work ahead of us will require that collaboration. It will be innovative, and it's a shared determination to deliver significant change for our communities. We will be responsible for unlocking new opportunities, supporting that economic growth that our children are looking forward to, and making sure that we have a bright future for all those people, and a bright future for the people who are already working now. Improving connectivity in a really sparse, low rural area is absolute key. I was at the Transport for the North Board last on Monday, Tuesday in Leeds to get to, for a 1 o'clock meeting. I set off at 7:30. It took me an hour to get to the mainline station that I needed to get to go to Leeds. I got there at 11:10. The train was on time. I had to mill around for an hour and a half in Leeds to wait for the meeting to start. I got back on the train at 3:11, and it was cancelled. And that is the life of a Cumbrian who wants to move outside this county at this moment in time. And if there's anything that we can do as a community, as a board, and as the new mayor might or could do, is connect our communities up. That skills development, again, as part of that whole, what I've talked about the future and about the ambition for our people, and looking and ensuring every part of Cumbria benefits from the powers that we now hold, and we need to exercise in partnership and collaboration, as I've said before. I want to thank the staff who've worked unbelievably hard to get us to this point. And we're still raw and still new, and so there'll be some changes and little bits and pieces that we'll probably have to change over the next sort of few 6 to 12 months. Our legal staff unbelievably have got us to this position, our democratic services people, and politically as well. It's been a pretty smooth ride as such. When I was at the Chamber of Trade meeting on Friday, I talked about exactly what the opportunities would be for that, and I thanked a lot of the business community for doing that. But I do want to put on, and I think a minute, that there's a personal thanks as well. Much easier for me in my political position, but to Jonathan and his team of councillors at Westmoreland and Furness to get us to this point in time, because what we have done and what we will do in this environment, we will exercise power on behalf of, and I don't mean that in Superman power or anything, but the actual decision-making process is that we will exercise that on behalf of the whole of this county, every part of the county, so that we, as I've said, that could benefit. And we will be acting divorced, in effect, from our constituent local authorities. There's a fiduciary duty for us to act on behalf of this combined Cumbrian authority, and I know that we'll do that, and I know that we'll exercise that type of power in a reasoned fashion. And I just want to place my thanks on to Jonathan for being a partner, not becoming a friend over the previous 3 years. So thank you very much. Okay, right, down to business, I think, isn't it? Okay, so election of vice chair, agenda item 3, to elect a vice chair of the Cumbria Combined Authority Board for the ensuing year. Want to nominate? Yeah.
I'd like to propose Councillor Jonathan Brooke.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
Right, thank you. Is there any other? So can we agree?
Just a kind of quick
Yes,
word, if I may.
absolutely.
I mean, Jonathan has provided calm, clear leadership in Westmoreland and Furness, and I'm sure that he will continue in that role. You know, this is about us working in partnership and cooperation. I understand that there's 14 months till we have a mayor, and that maybe in 7 months in 7 months' time will be a bit of a shift around, but I think Jonathan will be ideal as a deputy. Thank you.
So each seconded. Can we agree?
Yes.
Thank you. Jonathan, do you want to say a few words?
Okay, yeah, thank you. So clearly today does mark a significant milestone, not only for all of those directly involved, but all of us who've been involved in setting up the Cumbria Combined Authority. And clearly it's a significant milestone also for all of residents, communities and businesses right across Cumbria. This new partnership between Westmoreland-Furness Council and Cumberland Council and the Combined Authority will focus on strategic improvements and initiatives for people, and that includes better transport. Mark, as you mentioned, clearly transport connectivity vitally important for the success of Cumbria. Also, as you reference, more jobs, more skills, better long-term investment into Cumbria's towns, villages, local economy and businesses. Creating the Combined Authority as we doing today will unlock 333 million in additional long-term investment. The government has made that clear. That's over a period of 30 years. And they've also been clear that that is a floor, not a ceiling. So we anticipate additional funding flowing into Cumbria, and we look forward to that. It's not just about money, it's about additional and new devolved powers from national government, and we look forward to the devolution of those powers and to be able to exercise those on behalf of all of Cumbria. It gives us a county-wide voice in regional and national fora, and that's important. Again, Mark, as you made reference to, as a largely rural area. So for us to have an equal voice in organisations such as the Great North, and as you mentioned, Transport for the North, alongside those more populated and established combined authorities and mayors. And I think that is going to be vitally important. And I think we've already seen some benefits from having our voice at those tables. After months of preparation, maybe could say years, we're ready now to move forward in areas that will make a real difference to those who live and work here. And speaking from a Westmoreland-Furness perspective, I know that Councillor Jarvis and I are keen to play our part, along with our Cumberland colleagues, in ensuring that this new authority gets off to the very best possible start and ensure that all the preparation, and it has been extensive, to get us to this point will actually deliver for our people and our communities. So today, first meeting covers important responsibilities, clearly electing our chair, establishing combined authority. We'll consider the various the key documents, prospectus and work plan, set out our direction of travel, our aims, ambition, and the key deliverables for the authority. And I'm also put on record, along with Mark, my grateful thanks to everyone for their input into the various documents and papers, and to thank all of the officers and members, Westmoreland-Furness, Cumberland Office, the Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner and the Combined Authority for their extensive and diligent work to get us today to this launch meeting. And so we are grateful to the support also that we've received. Give credit where credit is due to central government, particularly MHCLG, who've supported us on our journey. So now the Combined Authority is in place. It's up to us all around this table to ensure that we do deliver on those opportunities, the additional powers, the additional funding and responsibilities to see that devolution delivers for the people of Cumbria as has been promised. And therefore I look forward to working with you all to achieve those objectives over the coming months. So thank you.
Thanks for that, Jonathan. Thank you. Okay. Vice Chair. Agenda item 4, apologies for absence. I don't think there are any.
No, everyone's present, Chair.
Any declarations of interest? I don't think there are any either. Nothing. Exclusion of the agenda item 6, exclusion of the press and public. There are no items on the agenda that the press or public should be excluded from, in my view. Okay, agenda item 7, appointment of statutory officers. I understand, I'm just the position, Kat. If there isn't any discussion on that, then should
Go in.
so are you going to leave anyway? Okay. So agenda item. So the recommendations 2.1 to 2.4 obviously are relevant to the officers that have left, and then they'll return for items 2.5 to 2.7. So agenda item 7, Amanda.
Income arrangements that we're proposing are designed to provide stability, ensure compliance, and create a foundation for permanent leadership.
Thank you. I thought I was loud enough, clearly not. So today we're proposing the appointment of those roles necessary to support the combined authority through the inaugural meeting, specifically the head of paid service, the chief finance officer and the monitoring officer. And without these appointments, the authority would be unable to discharge its statutory responsibilities. So, Chair, are you happy for me to go through the recommendations? So 2.1, the first appointment is to recommend John Barradell, who's currently the interim chief executive for the devolution programme, to the post of interim chief executive and head of paid service.
Yeah, I'll move that.
Second.
Is that seconded? And we can agree that.
Thank you.
Amanda.
2.2, to approve the appointment of Nick Bell, who's a locum, to the interim section 73, the chief finance officer.
Again, I'll move
Thank you.
and agreed. Thank you.
2.3, to approve the appointment of Catherine Parkinson, again a locum, to the interim monitoring officer and to the interim senior information risk owner.
Yeah, me.
And seconded.
Thank you. And also to approve the appointment of Catherine Parkinson to the interim data protection.
Again, moved and seconded. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agree that. Let them come back in, settle down. They'll be so giddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like me.
Thank you, Chair. And the next recommendation is to establish an appointments panel for the chief officer roles of the Director of Legal and Governance, the monitoring officer, and the Director of Finance, the Section 73 officer. And we need to agree nominations to that appointments panel. The recommendations that we would give to establish that appointments panel would be to the 4 board members. Yeah.
Yeah, that's moved,
Yeah.
seconded and agreed. Thank you.
Thank you.
2.6.
So we'll just wait for Andrew Seekings to leave the
You've got to
room.
leave.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The combined authority is also required to establish a combined authority returning officer in respect of the Cumbria Combined Authority mayor election due to take place in May 27. And we would like to ask the board to approve the appointment of Andrew Seekings to the returning officer post.
I'll move it.
Seconded.
And agreed. Thank
Thank
you. Yeah, and then
And then to note that we will appoint a permanent statutory scrutiny officer as soon as we can on a permanent basis. And in the intervening period, as if Catherine didn't have enough to do already, Catherine will take on the role on a very interim basis pending recruitment.
Yeah, that's the north. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item 8, combined authority governance, report of the interim monitoring officer.
I'll take it that you've all had the opportunity to read it, but I'll answer any questions if then we've got any. But I'll just take you through the recommendation. For 2.1, it's to confirm that the elected mayor for combined authority is to be known by the title of mayor once elected, the following into in more than taking the conference.
Yeah.
Agree with what you've got in here? Yeah. Okay.
Kath, do you want me to? Because I'll do them on block.
Yeah, I'll
Next
check.
week.
Yeah.
Just, I'll move them all on block. If anybody's got any issues around that, because everybody who, I've read them like everybody else. So has anybody got, there are 12 recommendations on pages 14 and 15. Has anybody got any questions to ask? Kath, right?
No, it's just we've got the scrutiny members tables here to then to be read out on, but just take those as read for today.
So we do that as well.
Do you want them read out or just?
I think we'll take it as table.
Yeah.
Take them as table. Anything to add, Andrew, Jonathan? Okay, so recommendations 2.1 to 2.12, 2.12 on pages 14 and 15. Can we move them? I'll move them. And can we agree? Thank you.
Mark, I probably should have said beforehand, please.
Express thanks to the officers. It's been quite a lot of work just to get us to a stage where we've got a draft constitution that will work for us. No doubt there will be things which come up over the next years which will require changes, but very grateful to staff, both of those now in the combined authority and those who are in the constituent authorities for the work we've done on this.
Okay, thanks for that. Agenda item 9, budget medium-term financial plan. Nick?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everybody. We received recommendations regarding the budget for 26-27 and some other issues in relation to finance, particularly about appointing external and internal auditors. If I may, I'll take you very briefly through the report and then go back to the recommendations. We'll start, if I could, first of all, in relation to the budget itself. In future years, you will see a medium-term financial plan being developed for the authority as well, which will cover 4 years of both revenue and capital. However, given the fact that it's our very first budget and things are still developing in terms of our understanding about what the likely longer-term strategic aims are going to be and how they will be financed, we kept it simply at the moment to what we need to do, which is a single-year budget for 26-27, and that's what's presented in front of you. It's based on our knowledge of income sources and likely costs as we know it today. And just to highlight 3 main areas of funding that have come in. One's already been mentioned by board members. We've got our first tranche now of the investment fund. We've got £5.5 million this year. That will increase to 11.1 million a year from next year and then go on at that stage over the next 30 years as well. So very significant funding over the course of that time. We've also got money from something called the NEL Capacity Fund, which all combined authorities get to support the cost of running the organisation. And for this year coming, 26-27, we'll receive just over £2.8 million of that funding. So not insignificant sum again to help us with the running costs of the organisation. And then you will also see later on in the agenda a report around transport, because we also now receive grants from the Department for Transport, covering particularly bus service improvements and integrated transport, both revenue and capital grants. And so there's a separate report a little bit later proposing those grants are passported to the 2 constituent councils with the exception of £150,000 to be top sliced to cover the costs of strategic transport development within the constituent, within the combined authority itself. They're the 3 main income sources. There are other smaller ones as well, but I have to take any questions if need to be in relation to those. In terms of costs, all the costs have been built in around a phased approach to filling the staffing complement of the combined authority over the course of this year, and all of the known non-staffing costs have been included in it. And the report also proposes contribution towards general reserves and specific reserves as well, to be able to cover some of the costs of the election of the mayor in 2027. In terms of financial risks around the budget itself, there are none that are immediately significant. However, I would like to draw the board's attention to what I consider to be the main issue longer term, which is the fact that while the investment fund is very welcome, and at £11.1 million will enable us to be able to do some quite significant work over the course of the first few years. It doesn't go up with inflation, it's not indexed, and therefore over the course of 30 years, its value will diminish effectively in terms of buying power. That's an issue faced by all combined authorities, and I know that all combined authorities are in the process of continuing to make representation to government about some form of indexation on this in the future. It's something this board may wish to consider as well. I'm also required by law, as Section 73 officer, to give a statement in relation to the robustness of the estimates and the adequacy of the reserves. And I've laid that out in the report. Just to summarise that, the estimates I think are very robust in terms of where we've got to the present time. And thank you to my colleague in finance, particularly Agatha Zimmerman, who's done an awful lot of work in relation to this. So thank you very much, Agatha. And then also the reserves, subject to the decision of the proposal today, will be adequate as well for the combined authority moving forward. Briefly, before we come to the first two recommendations, I wanted to mention as well, there's two items that is planned to bring to the next board meeting. The first of which is Enterprise and Cumbria reserves. Enterprise and Cumbria is transferring to the combined authority, and it's got a number of reserves, and we need to just undertake due diligence in relation to those reserves before they actually transfer into the combined authority. And we anticipate that work will have been undertaken in advance of the next board meeting. I will bring the report through to that meeting around that. And additionally, there are no current proposals to utilise any of the uncommitted revenue or capital investment from the 26-27. Again, we need to analyse proposals in line with value for money, and the approved local assurance framework as well that the board has now approved. It's anticipated that early proposals for the use of some of that will be ready for consideration at the next board meeting. So yeah, we'll bring the report through there. So just if it can be paused and take the first two recommendations, that's right, which are the budget, the revenue budget and the capital budget, because we then move on to slightly other issues in relation to treasury management policy and external internal audit. Unless you wish me to continue with the whole report.
Just the whole report, would you like to have done before?
Of course.
Any questions? Because I know that there'll be a couple of talking
I'm very happy to do that. So in terms of treasury management, we don't plan to undertake any borrowing this year, but we are likely to have some income that where we receive grants in advance of expenditure, where we will look to invest that income to raise some interest to make sure we utilise public funds in the best possible way. And the proposal is to use the Westminster Finesse Treasury Management Policy to invest in surplus funds over the course of the company. And again, that will need approval by the board as part of its recommendations. And then moving on to external and internal auditors, we need to appoint both of those for the new combined authority. The vast majority of both combined authorities and local authorities use an organisation called PSAA to appoint their external auditors, and it's proposed that we do the same, as that avoids the need for a costly separate procurement exercise for the authority. But for internal auditors, we have already undertaken a procurement exercise, and it's proposed that MIIA are appointed as internal auditors for this board coming year. And the final point is that we're also developing a number of service level agreements whereby we will receive support from the two constituent councils around a range of services. Again, they are outlined in the written report, we've seeking approval in relation to allowing the interim chief executive to finalise negotiating discussions in relation to that forward. Thank you, Chair. I will have a pause there and take any questions.
Okay, Andrew.
I'm going to disappoint you, Mark. I don't have questions, but I would like to make just one comment. Two comments maybe. One is, again, thanks to officers for working to get us to the stage where we have a budget. I think it's also worth reflecting on the comment on the mayoral investment fund. That is set by government in proportion to population, whereas we are the smallest combined authority in the country by population. In some cases, quite a very large, several others have a very large multiple of our population. And what it does mean is that our unavoidable, inevitable fixed costs are high in proportion to our narrow investment funds. The costs of having the team here. And I think we just need to make sure that we correct, and I think we have before, on two things. One, the need for us to keep the combined authority light, agile, so that we can use as much of our limited resource to being investing in our economy and our communities, rather than building bureaucracy. And the second, for us to continue to seek and lobby for additional funding streams from government. And we'll later on to talk about the prospectus, but one of the things it talks about there is that devolution to date has not really addressed the issues of rurality. And so also to look for additional opportunities there for bringing in money, but essentially across our responsibility to see if we can get more money from government. But other than that, I'm very grateful for the work. I do not have any specific questions today.
Okay.
Sorry to disappoint you.
Sorry, Chair. Yeah, if I could just, you mentioned about finance papers coming to the next board meeting, and I'd just like to ask about your confidence that we will have all the necessary papers in front of us for that meeting. And then, if you like, conjoined to that is, I think there may be a question over the date of the next meeting, and that might need to be earlier than is on plan. So perhaps just clarity around those two things and how those might come together. I think dates meeting perhaps later on our agenda, but I'd just like some clarity, please.
Thank you. It's if the date of the next meeting is as currently planned, I'd have pretty good confidence in terms of getting certainly the final Cumbria report through, and then hopefully as well the report in terms of the priority through to the next meeting. However, it's earlier, but that may give some additional challenge. But I will endeavour to make sure that as much as possible, even to try and bring the report, but it's simply meant to be possible. It can never be too early. Yeah.
So perhaps we could bear that in mind when we address that item later in our agenda.
Okay, thank you. And Andrew, thanks for setting out our workload for the future. That is our workload, isn't it? Make sure that we punch above our weight and make sure that we tell our story so that people want to come and invest with us here from central government and externally as well. So we've got on page 330 recommendations 1 to 6. Can we move them on block, please? Thank you. Is that seconded and agreed? Yeah. Agenda item 10, which is pay and grade framework. Again, I think that's your mandate.
It is. Thanks, Chair. So this item seeks approval of a pay and grading framework for the authority. And it's recognised that establishing a clear and proportionate framework at this stage is essential to ensure pay arrangements are fair, transparent, legally compliant and financially sustainable as the authority moves from set up to delivery. You'll note in the report the proposed framework is based on the nationally negotiated arrangements of the NJC, the National Joint Council for Local Government Services, and aligns with the approach used by the constituent councils. The framework is designed to provide stability and consistency during our establishment, whilst also retaining flexibility to respond to labour market pressures where we can objectively justify them. We will also ensure that there are appropriate governance arrangements to ensure transparency in relation to senior pay, market supplements, and any appointments above minimum. The report also seeks agreement for the combined authority to become an accredited living wage employer through the Living Wage Foundation, which again reinforces the authority's commitment to fair employment practices. Overall, we'd recommend that the proposed approach provides stable, affordable and legally robust foundation for the combined authorities workforce as the organisation develops. And there are the 6 recommendations, Chair, if you wanted to take them on block.
Yeah, can do that. They're on page. Is there any questions Wanda?
Got a comment rather than a question, but I just very, it's very good to see that we've got the real living wage accreditation at our first meeting. I think it really does set a good tone of our values as combined authority and what we're going to be looking for right across as well. So yeah, it's just a comment rather than any question.
Thank you. Anybody else? We've got 6 recommendations on page 342. I think they're in the page in again, aren't they? On 4347, they're exactly the same. But page 342, recommendation 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 and 26. I'll move them. And is that agreed? Thank you. Excellent. Agenda item 11, transport delivery plan for Cumbria. This is an interim report, I think, that is coming back in September. Right, okay.
If I could introduce this, Chair, to help the members. As is set out in the report, the government is reforming the process by which local transport plan funding is administered, and it's moving towards a model that gives local areas a bit more certainty around funding, which has been lacking flexibility. The reforms mean that we, working with those constituent authorities, are required to produce a local transport plan for Cumbria as opposed to the individual councils. Now, in order to allow funding for this spending round, particularly this year coming, we'll further be responsible for monitoring the spend of those funds. I'll come back to that in a second. Now, given the notice, frankly, the late notice of changes to this, the department have asked us or required us to produce a draft plan by the 20th of March, in 2 days' time, which is a fair challenge, I think it's fair to say. It only needs, though, to cover the next financial year in any detail, and that draft then is going to be used for releasing the funding to the 2 constituent authorities. The final version of that plan has to be produced by the autumn, and that's for the remaining part of the spending round. As set out in the report in front of you, we're looking at the draft delivery plans allocating transport funding to the 2 constituent authorities as would have been the case if the combined authority hadn't existed. So there is a degree of already understanding what that funding would be within the constituent authorities. We have, however, also recommended that there is a top size of those amounts for 150,000, which is going to be used effectively to fund the assurance framework that we need to do for the assurance spending required from us by the department. Now, the draft plan's being developed, as I said, by the authorities in conversation, I hope, with the relevant portfolio members, and one of them so far has been received. We're expecting the other report to be today. Hopefully, if it isn't, we can't submit on the 20th. So we're rather hoping both come forward in the next 24 hours. There is no pressure on colleagues for that, but making a point we have to have that. I don't know if there's any other, apart from a delegation to the section 73 to finally sign these off for presentation to the department. Thanks, Jim.
Okay, there are recommendations starting on 353 and finish on 354. There are 5 recommendations, and the financial plan is outlined on 356, where those allocations are going. Any questions? And I'll move them. Move recommendations on 353, 354. The seconder, thanks, Jonathan. Can we agree? Great, thank you. Was it you? Both blending to each other. Okay, agenda item 12, the devolution prospectus. I think you're moving.
And again, if I can very quickly introduce this. What we've set out in the report is the current version of the devolution prospectus for the combined authority. As you'll be aware, it's not a statutory requirement that we produce a document like this, but we've intended to do this at least to part explain to the public and those other organisations in Cumbria what the combined authority, first of all, is about, and secondly, to look at aims and objectives for it in the next 18 months or so, give an indication of what the work will be, the work plan will be. And it helps us, I think, to put it into context of the budget that you'll be asked to sign off, and the 2 obviously sit side by side. assuming, and I won't assume, but provided that you're content with the prospectus in its current draft, we'll work this up for publication shortly with the appropriate visuals and so on to go alongside it. Otherwise, it gets fairly dry, and aim for a publication of that in late April, which will coincide with various activities, some of which you'll be aware of that are planned for that period. Now, I would say that this has gone through fairly considerable consultation with different organisations and yourselves within Cumbria. But it's equally possible there'll be some further comments from some outstanding organisations along. I don't expect any to be violently different, but there may be some comments around some of the content of that, which we'll want to add in and take on board. Hence the recommendation, Chair, that subject to consultation with members of the board, you do allow me to make relevant changes as they come forward, present final document to you finally before we put it forward for publication.
Okay.
If I could, sorry, you'll find that it's also identifies that additional £10 million that has come as a result of the devolution being taken forward in the county from government. And again, that's on top of, and the point was made earlier about the base versus the limit, on top of the 330 million Mayoral Investment Fund that's coming over from government.
Okay.
Happy to take it further.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to really, I welcome this document. I welcome them up front. It highlights the differences that we have across our region. Very not entirely unique for combined authority. Maybe Yorkshire has a similar blend, but probably we've got more post-industrial areas as well as very, very rural areas. And it is great to see a plan being put in place, a mission that will serve residents and businesses across the entire geography. I think there are residents and others can look at this and see that already there is an ambition by action, be around strategic transport, improving capital things, and doing well-linked skills, in terms of improved FTE program for those that meets those not employment education training. Improving the Cumbria wide local population, looking at how we can start to join up, improve some of the boundaries and the lack of overlaps in terms of the health systems and so on. So I think there is already an ambition will make significant difference to our community. Welcome to see that. Yes, there's still more work to be done, but thank you for the work today. Our job is now to get on and deliver what our residents need.
Thanks for that, Elisa.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just a question on terms of kind of reading, if you like, going to publication in April. What's our intended audience for this? Is it quite? It's going to be a document that we can send to businesses, put on coffee tables, but kind of public participation, not consultation, but kind of at least making sure that it's out in places, because we know, that how many people will know that there's a combined authority meeting happening today. Won't be very many. So we really want to do something to be able to kind of change that narrative before, considering they've got elections coming up, which will, in itself generate a lot of publicity, but we want to be able to do that with positivity, because it's not kind of, the whole mayoral aspect of it has been a bit 50-50. So can this help with that in terms of, new kind of views on the publication of it?
So I think you're right in terms of the length of it. It's a document really intended, I think, predominantly for members of the board, colleagues from the two constituent councils, businesses and so on. There is an intention, and I had hoped it would be ready, but I'm assured by the communication team it is imminent. A 4-page version that tries to summarise this in headline terms of what is a combined authority and what is it going to do for you as a resident, a business, someone in Cumbria. And I think you saw with the video, hopefully, I know it's probably turning back to it, was trying to summarise why Cumbria
Yeah.
Why is it investment is a good idea? Why is it a great place to live? Why is it a superb place to visit? And almost what is the combined authority about? So the communications plan that members, have seen on the informal meetings that have taken place is thorough and does include that piece around things for the public as opposed for the other audience, if I put it that way.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Right, can we move, there are two recommendations, I think. Yeah, two recommendations. On page 361, 2.1, 2.2, move them. Seconded, and can we agree? Yeah. Thank you. Agenda item 13, not long now. Agenda item 13, Cumbria calendar meetings for forward plan. I know that I've had some discussions with Jonathan and Andrew about the 2 month gap around bringing that tighter about the work that would be at. Would that cause us a problem at all?
Yes, as we see from the report, the constitution provides that the combined authority would meet with every 2 months, but additional meetings may take place within the period in between. I think it probably is reasonable, like certainly in the first 6 months, that we sort of establish that how we need to meet. If there's no business, then the meeting not being cancelled. And we have got a tabled a scheduled meeting. The next one was the date that we originally had was 14th of May. Whilst members can send it to, I think it's probably important that ensuring we all want to be able to attend, certainly in the first few months, rather than sending a substitute. So we tentatively we've looked at the 29th of May in the afternoon for that meeting, which is a couple of weeks later than so that should be able to accommodate any reports that Nick was going to bring. But we can look at the revised timetable. We've got a particular time period you'd like to.
I just thought about the business around, and it was a phrase that Jonathan used about being light and agile. Not only the organisation needs to be light and agile around making decisions faster. Certainly, fairly early on, you'll review it after 6 months, but table monthly for now, for the first 6 months. And if there is no business, then we would go to the 2 month. That would, are you happy with that approach? Yeah. Okay. Right. You've got a question, I think, Lisa.
It's just on timings of the meetings as well. As we're an inclusive combined authority, we just ask that given that if the meetings are moving around, or will the meetings always be here? Have we decided that then? So just in terms of timings, if it could be kind of later in the morning, just avoiding things like school runs and things for people that have got childcare, and considering the rural sparsity, the geography, that we have to travel around. It was just mentioned because there are no times.
Yeah.
I think the intention was that unless it states on the table schedule that there would be at 10:30, but a slightly later start is better members than that. So we can arrange that.
I'll take that up with you.
Yeah, she doesn't have to be decided right now.
If I could comment, Chair, I think part of the reason why we broadcasting this on Teams is to allow the access around the county for the meetings of the combined authority. And I think it would be something, Chair, I'd probably be bringing a paper to you at the next meeting to propose we do start meeting outside of Penrith around the county and come back with a potential schedule of those meetings later. We are trying to make sure we have the technology to do that, to allow that access, but it is something that I will be coming back to propose to you in a future meeting.
Okay. So any questions on that with those additions around monthly for the first 6 months of review? I'll move them. Can we second it?
Yeah.
And agree? Right, thank you. Thank you very much. It's closure.